All right. Many times I get asked, Jack, what's new? What's the latest, greatest thing? What's the silver bullet for 2020 for doing marketing, especially digital marketing and social media marketing? Recently, there were a bunch of marketing people sitting around a room talking about what's new for 2020. And this gentleman says, this will be the year of artificial intelligence. The next person, yes. Oh, and Facebook ad funnels, that'll be a big deal. Yes, and micro-influencers, that's new, that's a new big deal. Yes, and automated chatbots, no, that'll be the thing that takes us over the top in 2020. Instagram stories, that's the number one thing. All these marketing people have their opinions. Yes, and voice search and live video. And then, shouldn't we talk about our strategy first? We're in an industry where people are always pitching you on the next greatest thing. We're going to talk about some of the next greatest things, but sometimes it's a matter of doing the old things better. And we're going to talk a lot about that while we're here as well. And that's why these content creation stations are here to help. Then they go on to say, oh, no, anyway, nobody listens to strategy, right? This will be the year of virtual reality. Well, the reality is that, yes, there are things that are new. And, yes, we're going to talk about those while we're here. But in addition, we want to make you even better at the things you already do. Never forget, if you only remember one thing from this morning, never forget that a dental practice is a relationship-based business, period. And there aren't very many of those in the world. Maybe your hairdresser, maybe your personal trainer, but definitely your dentist. It requires marketing relationship-based businesses differently than any other kind of business. You can read all you want about marketing, about social media marketing, about SEO, about websites, but if it isn't applicable to a dental practice, to a relationship-based business, it doesn't help you. And over the last 10 years, that's what we've been trying to do, is take all of the marketing information and distill it in such a way that it helps build dental practices. Never before in the history of marketing have dental practices had such control over their marketing. And that's really what we're going to talk about while we're here. As you may know from our website, the theme this year is Grow Your Practice by Harnessing the 3 R's of Dental Digital Marketing, an integrated plan or an integrated approach. We've brought people in from every aspect of dental digital marketing to talk about all the things that you can use to create an integrated plan. And in part, they are based on 3 ideas, the 3 R's. We used to, in the old days in public relations, we used to call the strategy the 3 R's, and it's exactly the same today. It's about relationships, reputation, and reach. And every time you do something to try to grow your practice, it's important to ask yourself, is what I'm doing strengthening a relationship, building my reputation, or increasing my reach? We've asked the presenters for the next 2 days to bring their vision and their best practices in this context to help you as a dental practice do those 3 things. In addition, about a year ago, we sat down and talked about all the things that we had talked about over the last 4 years at this conference. And it was interesting. We talked about how there's this foundation that's built on your practice's culture. If you don't have a strong culture, then you don't have content that can be manifest publicly through marketing. So this conference is not only to talk about technical stuff, but also to talk about the culture of the practice as the foundation of marketing. And that's why we've structured the content the way we have at this conference. So you have quite a bit of control over those 2 bottom portions of this pyramid. You have a lot of control over your practice culture. You have a lot of control over your social media marketing. Those are channels that you have control over. Sometimes you may not feel like you have as much control over some of the other digital marketing efforts. One of the questions that I often get, Practices aren't sure how many of these things to do themselves and how many things they should be outsourcing to other people. As you listen to the presenters over the next 2 days, determine which ones make sense for you to control and to take care of, and when you do need help. And it isn't because we're trying to get you to sign up for any kind of services at all. Remember, this is a non-pitching conference. But practices, depending on their size, their capability, their bandwidth, their team, how many team members they have, who they have employed, who they're working with, sometimes practices need to outsource more of this effort. So as you listen today and tomorrow, think about those 3 R's and think about this little pyramid, how to build your practice culture such that it creates great content that gets manifested outwardly through social media, and then also get using the strategies of other digital efforts and digital tools to grow your business. All right, growing your practice and harnessing the 3 R's. In conclusion, I want to share one thing with you, and then I'm going to turn the time over to our next speaker. I have the privilege, like Greg Anderson said, of being associated for the last 10 or 15 years with the Crown Council and Smiles for Life, and with Steve Anderson and Greg Anderson, and all the other people that are associated with the conference. I've been part of an email network for about 10 years where I don't comment very much, but I listen. And great questions get asked there about marketing, and really smart people chime in and help. This is all part of the Crown Council network, if you're not familiar with the Crown Council. Just recently, September 15th, this is just a couple of weeks ago, this interesting email came through entitled Patients Approaching in Public. And this is from a dentist who wrote in this question to the network. I have the privilege of working in the same town where I live and also attend church services. I love our tight and small community. Quite often, usually at church, I run into patients. Most of the time they say, "Oh dear, I really need to come and see you." Occasionally, well, 1 or 2 in particular, will complain about some recent work. For example, "Oh Karen, this tooth still isn't right," pointing to a newly placed crown. Not the greatest advertisement in front of their friends. Most of the time, it is not the tooth we worked on, but oh well. So my question is, what's the best response? Today I just said in a light tone and with a smile, "Well, come see me." Any other suggestions? By the way, I understand that they see me and are at that moment reminded of their tooth. I can't blame them. My wish is that they would handle the dental business with me at the office and not in the church parking lot. Now, Steve Anderson, who's going to be our next speaker, and if you don't know Steve, most of you in the room know Steve anyway. Steve chimed in with this answer. "Thanks for the post, great question. Here are some ideas. Number 1, most all publicity is good publicity. The fact that they're talking to you in public is great. These are all situations you can use to everyone's benefit. Response to "this tooth still isn't right," you might respond with, "I'm not surprised. The mouth is constantly a changing space. That's why we always check and make adjustments every step along the way. Let's make sure you get in this week so we can get everything updated and adjusted. When can you come in?" You can put that in your own words, but you get the idea. Number 3, if you know their name, go ahead and ask them if someone from your team can call them first thing Monday morning to schedule a good time. Take the initiative to follow up. If you're drawing a blank on the name, ask them, quote, "Will you call the office first thing at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning so we can see you right away?" Living in the community where you practice can be one of the best marketing advantages you have. And you always have to be ready. You are never anonymous in your own hometown, so you're always marketing. What great advice from a really great mind that we're going to hear from next. So, creating a culture of success. Remember, the foundation of great digital marketing starts inside the practice. With that, I'm going to introduce Steve Anderson, who's going to come up and take our next presentation. As a reminder as well, these are 20-minute presentations, and there's a transition of a minute or two in between. So we'll be switching laptops and doing a little bit up here during those 2 minutes. Feel free to stretch. You could race to the bathroom and race back if you wanted. They're not breaks, they're transitions, but know that we're going to transition for a couple minutes between each of these presentations. So once again, welcome to the Dental Digital Marketing Conference. We hope these 2 days are the most powerful that you have all year in learning how to grow your business, and thank you for being here. Thank you.